On the day Olivia Fordham was diagnosed with stomach cancer, her husband, Ethan Miller, was taking care of his first love's children. In the hospital corridor, Keith Rogers said grimly while holding a biopsy report, "Olivia, the results are out. If the surgery is successful, the 5-year survival rate for a 3A malignant tumor is 15 to 30%. Olivia gripped the strap of her sling bag tightly with her slender fingers. Her petite face was pale and solemn. "Keith, how long do I have left to live if I don't do the surgery?" 6 months to a year. It's different for everyone. In your case, it's better to do 2 rounds of chemotherapy first before the surgery. It will prevent the risk of the tumor spreading or undergoing metastasis. Olivia bit her lip while forcing out, "Thank you. Don't thank me. I'll arrange for you to be admitted to the hospital right away," said Keith. "There's no need. I don't plan to receive treatment. I won't be able to get through it," Olivia said. Keith wanted to say something more, but Olivia tipped her head at him. "Keith, please help me keep this a secret. I don't want my family to worry." The Fordham family was bankrupt. Olivia already had to bend over backward just to cover the medical expenses of her father, Jeff Fordham. If her family knew about her illness, it would undoubtedly make the situation worse. Keith sighed helplessly and said, "Don't worry. I'll keep my lips sealed. I heard that you're married. Your husband. Keith, please take good care of my dad. I have to go now." Olivia seemed very reluctant to talk about this and left quickly before he could answer.
Keith shook his head.
Rumor had it that she had dropped out of university and gotten married. The top genius in medical school had fallen from grace into devastation. Throughout the 2 years of her father's treatment, she was the only one who took care of everything. Even when she had collapsed from illness and was sent to the hospital by passers-by, her husband had never shown up. Thinking back, Ethan had truly treated her well in the year they had gotten married. Alas, when his first love returned to the country pregnant, everything changed. There was once when Olivia, who was also pregnant, fell into the water with Marina Carlton, his first love. Amidst her struggles, she saw him swimming toward Marina with all his might. Due to the ordeal, she and Marina both went into labor prematurely. Olivia had been rescued too late and missed the optimal window for receiving treatment. By the time she arrived at the hospital, her baby had died in the womb. 7 days after the death of her baby, Ethan asked for a divorce, but she had not agreed to it. Now that she knew about her illness, she could not deny it any longer. She dialed his number with shaking hands, and he picked up after the 3rd ring. He said coldly, "I won't see you unless it's to get divorced." Tears filled Olivia's eyes as she forced herself to swallow her words about her illness. Marina's voice suddenly came over the phone in the background. "Ethan, it's time for the pediatric checkup." The tears that Olivia had held back for a long time flowed down her face that instant. Her child was gone, and her family was ruined, but he now had a family with someone else. It was time for all this to be over. She no longer begged him like before. Instead, she said weakly, "Ethan, let's get a divorce." Ethan was obviously stunned for a moment over the phone. He laughed coldly and said, "Olivia, what tricks are you playing this time?" Olivia closed her eyes and said, "I'll wait for you at home." It took all of her strength to hang up on him, and she slid to the ground against the wall. The rain blowing into the corridor drenched her as she gripped her phone and bit her sleeve while crying soundlessly. Ethan stared at his phone blankly after she hung up on him abruptly. After a year of the silent treatment where she refused to divorce, no matter what, why had she suddenly changed her mind today? Her voice sounded tearful as well. Gazing out at the heavy rain, Ethan walked out of the ward. "Ethan, where are you going?" asked Marina while chasing after him with the babies in her arms. When she saw him walking away quickly, her gentle expression immediately grew frighteningly dark. Olivia, that bitch. She still wouldn't give up. It had been a long time since Ethan had last stepped into the house they shared during their marriage. He had expected to see the dining table laden with his favorite dishes prepared by Olivia, but the villa was dark and empty. The sky always darkened too early during autumn. Night had fallen although it was only 6 p.m. Ethan spotted a vase of wilted flowers on the dining table. Knowing Olivia, she wouldn't leave wilted flowers sitting on the table, so there was only one possible explanation. She hadn't been home recently and had most likely been taking care of her father at the hospital. When Olivia opened the door, she saw a tall man standing by the dining table in a suit. The expression on his handsome face was as cold as ice, and his dark eyes were filled with deep hatred. Olivia was soaked from the run from the car to the house in the rain. When his icy gaze fell on her, a chill went down her spine. "Where were you?" Ethan asked frigidly. Olivia's eyes, which always gleamed in the past, were dull at that moment. She looked at him indifferently and said, "Since when did you care about me?" Ethan sneered and said, "You won't be able to sign the papers if something happened to you." His words stabbed her heart like sharp needles. She dragged her feet forward, dripping wet. She did not cry or make a fuss, but calmly pulled out the documents from an envelope. "Don't worry, I've already signed them," she said. She put the document on the dining table, and Ethan realized that he had never found the word divorce so displeasing in his life. Olivia only had one request, which was an alimony of $10 million. "I was wondering why you would suddenly agree to divorce." "Turns out it's for money," he mocked. His scornful expression filled her vision. The old Olivia would have defended herself, but she was just too exhausted now. So, she only stood where she was and said softly, "By right, I could have taken half of your net worth, Mr. Miller. But I only asked you for $10 million. When it comes down to it, I'm still being benevolent." Ethan stepped forward, casting a long shadow over Olivia. He held her chin with his slender fingers and said in a deep, cold voice, "What did you call me?" "Mr. Miller, if you don't like this form of address, then I don't mind referring to you as my ex-husband. You can leave after signing the papers." Her arrogant expression displeased Ethan. "This is my house." "Who gave you the right to ask me to leave?" he said. Olivia smirked and said, "Indeed, I do not have the right. Don't worry, Mr. Miller. I will move out after receiving the divorce certificate." With that, she slapped his hand away and looked him right in the eye. She said icily, "Mr. Miller, bring your documents to the City Hall at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'll see you there." Chapter 2. In the dark of night, Olivia stood alone in the bathroom. The hot water chased away her chills. She rubbed her swollen red eyes and walked to her room. When she opened the door, a warmly furnished children's room lay before her. She pressed a button lightly, and mellow music from a music box filled the room. The room was lit with yellow lights. The atmosphere was undoubtedly homely, but Olivia wept unstoppably. God must have decided to take her life because she had failed to save her babies. She climbed onto the cot that was barely more than 3 feet long and curled up into a fetal position. Tears from her left eye flowed to her right eye, down to her cheek, then finally wet the children's blanket she was lying on. She hugged a plushie tightly while murmuring, "Sorry, my baby. It's all my fault. I failed to protect you. Don't be afraid. I'll be with you soon." After losing her baby, her mental health had deteriorated. Olivia was like a pretty flower slowly wilting away. She gazed out into the night, thinking as long as she could leave her father that sum of money, then she could go and be with her baby. Before dawn the next morning, Olivia was already fully dressed as she looked down at her own smiling face in the photo they'd taken outside the city hall after they registered their marriage. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed since then. She prepared a breakfast that was good for the stomach. Although she didn't have much time left to live, she wanted to live longer to take care of her father. As Olivia was about to leave the house, she received a call from the hospital. "Miss Fordham, Mr. Fordham had a heart attack. We've already sent him into the emergency ward." "I'll be there right away." Olivia rushed to the hospital, but the surgery was still ongoing. She waited outside the operating theater with her hands clasped. She had already lost everything. Her only hope was for her father to live on in good health. A nurse handed her a receipt. "Miss Fordham, this is the total bill for your father's emergency treatment and surgery." Olivia scanned through the details and found that the total bill amounted to more than $100,000. Jeff's daily treatment expenses already cost $50,000 per month, and she only barely managed to make ends meet by working 3 jobs. After paying off his hospitalization fees earlier, she only had $5,000 left in her card. How was she going to afford his surgery? She had no choice but to call Ethan. He answered in a cold voice. "Where are you?" "I've already been waiting for 30 minutes. Something urgent came up and I can't make it." "Olivia, is this funny to you?" Ethan sneered in response. "I was thinking why you would change your mind all of a sudden. Do you take me for a fool? Making up lies like this? He actually thought she was lying. Olivia explained, I'm not lying. I was reluctant before this because I thought you must have had your reasons for treating me this way, but I see things clearly now. There's no point to a marriage like this, so I'm getting this divorce willingly. I couldn't make it because my father had a heart attack and had to undergo surgery. Is he dead? Ethan interrupted. It sounded weird to Olivia.
Who even spoke like that? No.
The doctors are treating him. Ethan, the surgery costs more than $100,000. Can you give me that $10 million? I promise I'll get the divorce. He responded with a snort. Olivia, I hope you know that I, of all people, wish your father dead. I can give you the money, but only after we make the divorce official. The line went dead after that. Olivia's face was filled with disbelief. She remembered that Ethan had treated Jeff with respect when they were still together. However, the hatred in his voice earlier did not sound like a joke at all. Why did he want her father dead? Everything made sense when she connected the dots with the Fordham family going bankrupt 2 years ago. How could there have been such a coincidence? Ethan must have caused their bankruptcy, but how had her family offended him? Olivia had no time to dwell on it. The most urgent matter at hand was to gather $100,000 to pay her father's medical bills. The doors to the operating theater opened, and Olivia quickly stepped forward. Dr. Herbert, how is my father? Don't worry, Miss Fordham. Mr. Fordham made it, but he's still mentally fragile. Be careful not to trigger him in the meantime. I understand, Olivia replied. Thank you, Dr. Herbert. As Jeff was still unconscious, Olivia asked the nurse, My father was quite healthy. Why did he suddenly have a heart attack? The nurse answered hastily, Mr. Fordham has been in good spirits recently. He even said that he craved lamb shank. I thought that Al Palfino was just 15 minutes away, so I went to buy him mushroom soup. When I came back, he had already been sent to the emergency ward. It's all my fault, Miss Fordham. Did you see anyone before you left my dad?
No.
Mr. Fordham looked normal before I left. He even said that you liked the carrot cake from Al Palfino and asked me to buy a slice. I never thought that this would happen. Olivia felt that things weren't that simple. After asking the nurse to take good care of her father, she rushed to the admission desk to check the visitor records. Miss Fordham, nobody came to visit Mr. Fordham this morning, the nurse working at the desk replied. Thank you. By the way, have you cleared the bill for Mr. Fordham? Olivia did her best to hide her embarrassment as she replied, I'll pay immediately.
I'm so sorry.
She left the admission desk and took a taxi to the city hall, but Ethan was nowhere to be seen when she got there. Olivia called him in a panic and said, I've reached the city hall. Where are you? My office. Ethan, can you come and settle the divorce procedures now? Ethan sniggered and said, Which do you think is more important? The business deal worth hundreds of millions that I'm about to make? Or you? I can wait till you're done. Ethan, I'm begging you. I need that money urgently for my father. If he dies, I'll pay for his funeral. With that, he hung up. When Olivia called him again, she realized that he had switched his phone off. The heavy rain beat down on her, and she couldn't breathe as she crouched under the bus stop sign. Olivia felt nothing but regret as she gazed at the busy street. If she hadn't gotten pregnant and dropped out of university, then she would have graduated with a degree by then. With her capabilities and academic talent, she would have had a very bright future. Who could have guessed that the Fordham family's sudden bankruptcy would cause Ethan, who had always loved her dearly, to change? She had lost everything in the blink of an eye. 1 year ago, Ethan had asked someone to take away all her jewelry and luxury handbags. The only valuable item she had left was her wedding ring. She took it off and walked into a high-class jewelry shop resolutely. The salesperson eyed Olivia, who was drenched and dressed in cheap clothes, up and down for a moment. She then asked, Hi, did you bring the invoice and proof of purchase? Yes. Olivia pretended she hadn't noticed the salesperson's judgmental stare and hurriedly handed the invoice with her head lowered. Thank you, miss. We have to send the ring to be verified. Can I contact you tomorrow? Olivia licked her dry lips and said in an urgent tone, I'm in urgent need of money. Can you speed it up? Okay, I'll try. Please give me a moment. Before the salesperson could take the ring away, a fair hand clamped down on the box. This ring is very pretty. I'll buy it. When Olivia looked up, she found herself face to face with the person she hated the most, Marina. Chapter 3. Marina wore a white cashmere coat. Her white pearl earrings made her look gentle and charismatic. Just the shawl around her neck was already worth more than $1,000. The salesperson went up to her and greeted her at once. "Mrs. Miller, is Mr. Miller not here today to pick out jewelry with you? There are some new arrivals. Each one of them would suit you great, Mrs. Miller. The emerald piece you asked me to reserve for you is here. Try it on later. I'm sure it would suit your complexion very well." The salesperson punctuated almost every sentence with Mrs. Miller, just to butter Marina up even though she and Ethan weren't legally married yet. Marina looked at Olivia with a smile and a proud look in her eyes that showed off her victory. Everyone knew that Ethan treated her like the most precious treasure, but they did not know that Olivia was his legally married wife. Olivia clenched her hands into fists. Why did she have to bump into the person she least wanted to see in her most embarrassing moment? Marina said mildly, "You'll lose a lot of money trading in a good quality ring like that." Olivia reached out and snatched the box away with a steely expression. "I'm not selling it anymore," she said.
No?
"What a real shame. I like that ring pretty much. I was even planning to offer you a higher price for it since we know each other." "Weren't you in a rush for money, Miss Fordham?" Olivia's hand stiffened. Yes, she was in need of money, very desperately too. That was why Marina was insulting her so relentlessly. The salesperson advised her, "Miss, this is the fiancé of the Miller Group's president. You're very lucky that your ring struck her fancy. She'll surely pay you a good price for it, and you won't have to wait for us to complete the procedures before you get your money." It sounded like mockery to Olivia when the salesperson kept mentioning Mrs. Miller. A year ago, she had told Marina confidently that she would never divorce Ethan and asked her to give up. In just a year, everybody high and low knew who she was. Olivia felt more and more convinced that her marriage with Ethan was nothing but a scheme. Noticing her hesitation, Marina smiled brightly and said, "Miss Fordham, why don't you name a price?" That bitch's cocky expression disgusted Olivia. She said coldly, "I'm not selling it anymore." However, Marina wouldn't let it go. "Miss Fordham, you're already at the end of your rope. Don't tell me that you still care about dignity. If I were you, I would sell it immediately. Has no one ever told you that stubbornness isn't a good look on you?" "What a joke, Miss Carlton. Robbing other people of their things has made you think you really own them. Why don't you go and rob a bank?" While they were fighting, the ring flew out of the box in a graceful arc and fell to the floor with a soft clink. Olivia immediately rushed toward it, but the ring rolled to a stop by a pair of elegant leather shoes by the door. When Olivia bent down to pick it up, a drop of water dripped onto the back of her neck and sent chills through her. She looked up slowly into a pair of cold, emotionless eyes. Ethan was still holding an open umbrella, and droplets of water dripped from it onto her head. The black wool coat he was wearing complemented his figure and made him look stylish. Olivia stared at him blankly and recalled the first time she had seen him. 20-year-old Ethan had been wearing a white shirt as he stood on the sunbathed field, but it was as if he had been standing right inside her heart. That image was branded in her mind ever since she was 14. Now, she was wearing a sweater that made her look even skinnier with its fuzzy material. Her chin was sharp and she looked thinner than she was 3 months ago. He looked grand and unparalleled, while she looked miserable and pathetic. Olivia's hand, which was about to pick up the ring, stopped in midair. While she was in a daze, Ethan expressionlessly raised his foot and stepped on the ring on his way past her. Olivia remained crouched. That ring had been designed according to his taste. Its design wasn't exaggerated, but it had a unique style. There was only one ring like that in the whole world. After he had put it on her, Olivia had never taken it off except when she was showering. If it wasn't because she was really in desperate need of money this time, she wouldn't have gone to such measures. However, what was a treasure in her eyes was just worthless rubbish to him. He hadn't just stepped on the ring, but also the past that she treated so preciously. Marina smiled and went to him while explaining, "Ethan, you're here. I just happened to be picking out jewelry when I saw Miss Fordham selling her ring." Ethan's cold expression betrayed no emotions. His icy gaze rested on Olivia while she tried her best to suppress her fury. He then asked, "You want to sell that ring?" Olivia held back her tears and bit her lip to stop herself from crying.
Yes.
"Would you like to buy it, Mr. Miller?" Ethan smirked mockingly and said, "I remember you telling me how important that ring is to you."
I can see how sincere you are now.
Anything that is disregarded by someone else is worthless to me. As Olivia was about to answer, she felt a burning pain in her stomach. As the tumor grew, the pain went from a slight ache to a piercing pain. She looked at the couple, who looked like a match made in heaven in their matching black and white coats under the bright lights. She suddenly lost the strength to explain herself. A man whose feelings had changed wouldn't be bothered even if she gave him her heart. Olivia fought against the pain and picked up the ring. Then, she slowly walked back to the counter to retrieve the box and certificate. She didn't want to show weakness in front of Ethan. Although the pain was enough to make her pass out, she still maintained a steady gait. When she walked past him, she said mildly, "Just like you, I treated it like a treasure last time, but now, it's just a piece of metal I can exchange for money." Ethan felt that something was off with her. Her forehead was beaded with sweat, and her face was as white as a sheet. She looked like she was trying her best to fight against some sort of pain. Suddenly, he gripped her arm and said in a low voice, "What's wrong?" Olivia shook off his hand and said, "It has nothing to do with you." She did not spare him another glance and did her best to keep her back straight as she disappeared from his sight. Ethan watched her leave. He had been the one to let her go, but why did his heart still ache? Olivia went to a deserted corner and dug her painkillers out of her bag in a fluster. She knew that all the treatments and cancer medicine had side effects, so she only bought some painkillers and regular stomach medicine, which was better than nothing. Gazing out at the heavy rain, she thought, "Is that the only choice I have left?" That was the last person she wanted to meet, but she had no choice but to take a gamble for her father's sake. Olivia went home to clean herself up before taking a taxi to Hawthorne Villa. When she had returned to the country more than a year ago, that person had called Olivia once. They hadn't met in more than 10 years, and Olivia had no idea how she was doing. Judging by the grand villa, Olivia guessed that she had been doing pretty well. After stating the purpose of her visit, a maid led Olivia into the living room, where a graceful woman was sitting. She was as beautiful as Olivia remembered her to be. "Liv," said the woman as she looked at Olivia with her pretty eyes. However, Olivia couldn't bring herself to call her mom. Chapter 4. Chloe Parker had left when Olivia was 8. It was Jeff's birthday, and Olivia had been in high spirits, eager to return home and celebrate her father's birthday with her family. She never knew that what awaited her was her parents' divorce. Olivia had chased after her mother, scrambling down the stairs and falling. She did not even realize that she had lost her shoes. All she cared about was clinging onto her mother's legs and crying, "Mom, don't go." The graceful woman bent down, stroked Olivia's cheeks and said, "I'm sorry. Mom, I'm first in my grade. You haven't seen my test papers yet. You have to sign them."
Don't leave me, Mom.
"I'll be a good girl. I promise I won't go to any more fun fairs. I won't make you mad.
I'll listen to you."
Please." Hastily, young Olivia blubbered everything she could think of in hopes of making Chloe stay. In the end, Chloe simply told Olivia that her marriage with Olivia's father was not a happy one and that she had found her true happiness elsewhere. Later, Olivia watched as a man she had never met helped Chloe place her luggage in a car, and they both left while holding each other's hands. She chased after their car for a mile without wearing any shoes before crashing heavily onto the ground. Her feet and knees were scraped, and they bled as she stared at the gradually diminishing outline of the car that she could never reach. At that time, she could not understand what had happened. Now that she was grown up, she knew that it was because her mother had been caught cheating on her father and simply decided to file for a divorce, leaving him with everything, including Olivia herself. Chloe had never contacted Olivia, and the latter hated her with every fiber of her being. She even hoped that she would never have to meet Chloe again. However, fate worked in mysterious ways, and Olivia could do nothing to stop it. Her throat went dry, and her feet turned to lead. Chloe knew what was on her daughter's mind. She approached Olivia and pulled her to sit beside her. "I know you hate me. You were very young back then. Lots of things weren't as simple as they seemed, so I wasn't able to explain them to you." She caressed Olivia's cheeks and continued, "Look at you, all grown up now. Liv, now that I'm back, I'll be staying here permanently. I know something's happened to the Fordham family. It doesn't matter, though, because I'll take care of you." It was then that Olivia knew the so-called hatred she harbored toward her mother was not worth mentioning at all. Her voice cracked as she called out, "Mom. My dear, since you're here already, you should stay and have dinner. Chris has taken good care of me for the past few years. He has a daughter who's older than you by 2 years. She's coming over with her fiancé for dinner. I'll introduce you to her later. However, it was not in Olivia's plans to make herself part of Chloe's new family. She hastily interrupted her. Mom, I'm here this time for my dad. My family's bankrupt now, and Dad just had a heart attack, but I don't have the money to pay for his surgery.
Can you help me?
I promise I'll return the money to you. Chloe had not yet replied when they heard a familiar voice. Miss Fordham, you truly are short of money, aren't you? Going so far as to come to my house for it. It was like a slap to the face. Olivia looked incredulously over at the people standing by the door. Who else could it be except Marina and Ethan? Apparently, fate was toying around with her again. She never thought that her very own mother would be Marina's stepmother. Olivia's husband and mother were now Marina's family. To make things worse, those two had caught her in the act of asking her mother for money. Ethan noticed her uneasiness, but he remained calm and indifferent toward her. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced through the awkwardness in the air. Olivia noticed a maid pushing in a twin stroller. The moment the baby's cries started, Ethan was already picking up and soothing one of them skillfully. They formed an eye-catching picture of a happy family of 4. Olivia's child would have been this age too, if it were alive. She started regretting coming here. She felt as if she was being embarrassed and humiliated over and over again. Strangely, one of the babies could not stop crying today. The maid rushed to prepare the milk, yet the cries worsened instead. Patiently, Ethan continued soothing the baby. Be good and don't cry. The sight of a tall man like him holding a baby gently in his arms was heartwarming. Seeing this patient and gentle side of him, Olivia suddenly had a thought. In just a few strides, she approached him and picked up the child. Somehow, Ethan did not stop her from doing so. Even more strangely, the child stopped crying and started to smile the moment Olivia held it in her arms. The corner of its lips curved into a smile, and its eyes twinkled as it looked at her. The child then started chuckling and mumbling. "Amma." Its tiny hands reached up in an attempt to grab the fluffy ball-like ornament on her cap. The child was all smiles, which was the exact opposite of Ethan. It was like a blade had ruthlessly stabbed into her heart, and it was the last straw for her, crushing any bit of persistence left in her. She once thought that Ethan truly loved her. He had been kind to her during their first year of marriage. She could still remember him whispering to her, "Liv, let's have a baby."
How could she refuse him then?
Even though she had not completed her studies, she did not hesitate to conceive a child. Only now did she realize that for all the time he spent with her, he did the same with another woman every time he went abroad for business. Nausea overtook Olivia. She returned the baby to Ethan and darted into the toilet. Then, she locked the door behind her. She did not eat much today. When she puked, all that came out was a mixture of her blood and the medications she took. Crimson liquid filled her sight, and tears started flowing down her cheeks. Great, just great, she thought. Her marriage had been a joke all along. Everything had an explanation now. It turned out that everything had been planned from the beginning. So, this was the reason he chose to save Marina instead of her when they both fell into the water that day. It also explained why he accompanied Marina when they both went into premature labor. It was because the children in her womb were his. After quite some time, Olivia heard a knock on the door. "Liv, are you alright?" It was Chloe. Olivia cleaned up the mess, splashed her face with water, and stumbled out of the washroom. Chloe was unaware of the events between them. She asked Olivia, "Are you sick?" "I just feel sick looking at those two. I feel much better now that I vomited." "Do you know Marina?"
She's always been abroad.
"Is there some kind of misunderstanding between you two?" "This is Ethan." "I know." Olivia interrupted her, her voice cold as ice. "Ethan Miller, the president of Miller Group. Who in this world wouldn't know him?"
Yes.
"He's a brilliant and accomplished young man." "Indeed. He hasn't even divorced yet, but he's already eager to remarry. Ordinary people wouldn't be as bold as him." This left Chloe rather confused. "What are you talking about? He isn't married, so why would he get a divorce?" The smile on Olivia's face did not reach her eyes. In a mocking tone, she said, "Who am I then if he isn't married? Mr. Miller, why don't you tell my mom just who I am?"
Chapter 5.
Chloe looked at Ethan with a puzzled gaze. She never knew that he was married. Mr. Miller, we stayed overseas for many years and are unaware of what goes on here. What does my daughter have to do with you? Ethan's eyes were calm. His expression remained indifferent as he said, even if there was something between us, it's already in the past. I'm settling my divorce soon. Olivia never thought that he would take things so lightly after all their years of marriage. She had given him her heart, yet this was all she got in the end. Needless to say, she was furious at him. However, she felt more disappointed than anything else. It was the disappointment of finding out just how blind she had been to treat trash like him like something precious. Olivia took out the ring box and hurled it at Ethan's face. Fuck you, you scumbag. My deepest regret is marrying you. See you at the city hall tomorrow. Whoever fails to show up is a coward. The box hit him squarely on his forehead, leaving a trail of blood dripping down his face. It opened and fell together with the ring onto the ground. This time, Olivia did not look back. She stepped on the ring as she left and slammed the door shut. Too many things had happened over the past 2 years, and this was the final straw. She did not manage to go far before passing out by the roadside. It started pouring from the sky, as if the world itself loathed her. Olivia thought that it would be better to just die like this. For her, there was nothing worth remembering in a world full of schemes and lies like this. When she woke up, she was lying in an unfamiliar room. The dull, yellowish light from a lamp chased away the darkness in the room. The warmth here was like a soothing breeze in spring. You're awake. Olivia's eyes fluttered open to see Keith's eyes staring back at hers. You saved me? I was on my way home when I saw you passed out by the roadside, so I brought you back. You were thoroughly soaked, so I had the maid help you change, Keith said, his eyes clear and sincere. Thank you, Keith. Olivia thanked him. I made oatmeal. You should have some warm water first, Keith told her. Olivia removed the blankets and started to get off the bed. No need. It's late, and I don't want to trouble you. She was frail. The moment her feet touched the floor, her body tilted forward helplessly, making her fall to the ground. Hurriedly, Keith rushed to her aid by supporting her with his arms. Olivia could smell the light fragrance from his clothes. It was similar to the laundry detergent she used at home. Ethan also had the same scent back then. She could not help but feel her heart break when she thought of him. You're too frail right now. Stop pushing yourself if you want to live for a couple more days, Keith warned her, yet his tone was gentle. Think of it as you're doing this for your father. Only then did her dull and dispirited eyes flicker with a sliver of hope. Sorry to trouble you. She watched as Keith busied himself in the kitchen. In truth, she and him were not that close. At most, he had given her a reward when she was nominated as the best student in her freshman year. That time, he was her senior by 4 years and had been doing his internship at a prestigious school elsewhere, so he did not spend much time in college. Later, she met him again in the hospital, and they started contacting each other more frequently. Still, their relationship was not close enough for her to always impose on him. After finishing her meal and taking some medication, her stomach finally settled. Keith then brought up the issue of her chemotherapy. Medicine nowadays is advanced, and you're only in the middle of the late stage of cancer. Even some patients in the final stage survived, so you must have faith in yourself. Chemotherapy is a highly effective treatment. Olivia lowered her head. I've studied medicine before. I know its pros and cons. Keith continued giving her advice. The chances of remission after that are high. Even if the side effects are severe, you can do it with some determination. Olivia raised her head to look at him with tears in her eyes. She was spending every ounce of her strength to force back her tears as she muttered with trembling lips, "But I can't do this anymore." Keith wanted to console her, but the words were now stuck in his throat. He stared at her red-rimmed eyes and felt himself die a little inside. After a while, he asked, "Is there truly no one else in this world that you care about anymore?" Startled, Olivia took some time before replying, "The only person I care about is my dad." "Then you should live even if it's only for him." Olivia smiled bitterly.
Thanks.
I feel much better now. I'll be leaving. It was then that Keith realized that the ring on her finger she had always cherished was missing. He started to speak, but swallowed back the words. Eventually, he asked, "Where are you going? I'll drive you there."
No, thanks.
I've called a cab. It's coming soon. She refused his help so swiftly that he could do nothing but go along with it. Still, he thought that he should still be concerned. Her face was full of sorrow when they talked just now. He was worried that she would end her life, so he tailed the cab she took. The cab drove and stopped beside a river. Olivia stood alone and stared at the water. Even though it had stopped raining, the weather was still cold. Keith wanted to stop her from doing anything rash, but he saw a black MPV stop beside her. The car door opened, and out came the person whose face was always seen in finance magazines. Keith was shocked. Could that man be Olivia's husband? The wind tousled Olivia's hair, highlighting the agony on her already pale face. Ethan subconsciously wanted to raise his hand and tuck the strand of hair behind her ear. However, he quickly retracted it and asked, "What is it?" Olivia glanced over at him, her eyes cool and indifferent. She looked as if she wanted to make sure that the person standing before her was indeed him. "Were you behind my family's bankruptcy?" she asked. She did not beat around the bush, so he too went straight to the point and answered, "Yes." "Are the children yours?" This was her second question. She stared unblinkingly at him. She could have been overthinking things. However, it was never in his plans to deny this. "Yes," he said with his usual nonchalance. Olivia approached him and slapped him across the face. "Ethan Miller, you scumbag." He grabbed her wrist easily in one hand and brushed the tears on her cheeks with the other. "Does it hurt?" he asked. "You asshole. How could you treat me like this? What did my family do to deserve this?" The look on Ethan's face remained as calm and indifferent as ever when he spoke. "Why don't you ask your father about what he did?" Olivia swallowed before asking him. "Have you ever loved me, Ethan?" There was not even a ripple in his fathomless gaze. Slowly, he said, "Never. Since the beginning, you've always been nothing but a pawn." Her tears slid down her cheeks and fell onto the back of his hand. The breeze blew, taking away any lingering warmth that was left. "You hate me, don't you?"
Yes.
"This is what you Fordhams owe me. You should blame yourself for being Jeff Fordham's daughter. I'll make you suffer every day to pay for what you've done to my little sister. Didn't your sister go missing long ago? What does this have to do with my family?" He looked at her in disdain, as if he were a ruler laying down judgment. "Did you know that my sister was being tormented while you were enjoying the affection of the people around you?"
Take a guess.
"I won't tell you the truth. I want you to suffer and live a miserable life without ever knowing what happened. You'll get a taste of what my sister went through." Ethan got in his car after saying, "I'll be waiting at the city hall at 9 tomorrow. Olivia rushed over to his car and started hitting the car door. "Tell me, what happened to your sister?" However, the driver slammed his foot on the accelerator and the car zoomed out of sight, making her lose her balance and fall to the ground. Chapter 6. The wind blew bitingly cold on her face. Olivia was frozen to the core, but she pushed herself up and continued chasing after the car. She overestimated the current condition of her body and only ran for a couple of feet before crashing back to the ground. The car door opened. She saw a pair of shiny, tailored leather shoes halt before her. Slowly, she moved her sight from the shoes and up the trousers until she met Ethan's cold and unnerving gaze. "Ethan?" Olivia muttered weakly. A pair of slender hands reached out to her. In a trance, Olivia thought she caught a glimpse of the young man she had fallen head over heels for all those years back. She could not help but stretch out her hands to him. Just as their hands touched, Ethan pulled back, extinguishing the light in her after giving her false hope and causing her to fall once more. She had not injured herself before this, but when she slipped this time, she cut her palms on the pieces of shattered glass on the ground. Blood started trickling down her palms to her arms. A shadow seemed to flit across Ethan's face, but he stayed motionless. Olivia was stunned. Back then, he would rush her to the hospital in the middle of the night, even though she merely had a cut on her finger. She remembered the doctor chuckling and saying, "Thank goodness he brought you here in time. Otherwise, your wound would have healed on its own." The man before her and the one in her memories were the same person. He had the same eyes and face. Looking back, she realized that the concern he once showed for her was nowhere to be seen, replaced by a shade of icy indifference. In a cold voice, Ethan said, "Olivia, do you really think that I don't know you? You could easily run a mile and do a somersault. Do you expect me to believe you'd fall after running just a couple of steps?" He stared at her, the mockery in his eyes like a knife cutting through her. Olivia bit her lip and tried to explain. It's not like that. I'm not lying to you. I'm just a little weak because I'm sick. Ethan did not wait for her to finish. He crouched and tilted her face upward to face him. His rough fingers brushed her dry, chapped lips. You truly are your father's daughter. You two are pretentious to the extreme and would put on a stupid act just for some money. Those words stung more than the cold wind, and they stabbed at her heart repeatedly. She swatted his hand away from her face. My father is an upright person. He would never do anything to harm anyone. Ethan sneered. He decided he no longer wanted to discuss this matter with Olivia and plucked a check from his wallet instead. He carelessly wrote on the check, held it in between two fingers, and placed it in front of Olivia. Do you want this? He asked. $5 million certainly was not a small amount. It would spare Olivia the headache of securing funds for her father's medical bills. However, she did not take the check because Ethan would not be so kind to her. I have one condition, though, Ethan added and whispered in her ear. This money is all yours if you repeat after me. Jeff Fordham's an asshole. The look on Olivia's face changed instantly, and her hand shot up in an attempt to slap him across the face. Ethan stopped her by grabbing her by the wrist, and as Olivia struggled against him, she left a bloody handprint on his shirt. Ethan's grip on her tightened, and his tone became harsher. Oh, you don't want to do it? He'll have to die in the hospital then. I've already picked a burial spot for him anyway. Tears streamed down Olivia's face as she asked, Why did you become like this? The man who had once swore an oath to protect her and cherish her for the rest of her life was long gone, replaced by a ruthless person who found joy in making her break down in tears. The dim light from the nearby lamp post illuminated his face, further emphasizing his annoyance and impatience. So, you're not going to say it, right? He released his grasp on her and slowly tore the check into pieces. Olivia rushed forth to stop him, but he shoved her away and told her in a tone devoid of emotions, I've given you a chance. The paper shreds fell from his hands, just like the hope she had had for him.
No, don't.
Clumsily, Olivia hurried to pick them up as her tears continued to flow. She looked like a child who had lost everything she valued, anxious and helpless. Ethan turned to leave, and just when he was about to get in his car, he heard a thud. He turned around to see her figure lying unconscious on the ground. Kelvin, the driver, had an anxious look on his face as he asked, Mr. Miller, Mrs. Miller's passed out. Should we send her to the hospital? Ethan's gaze was unsettling when he looked at Kelvin. Are you worried about her? Kelvin was confused. He had been working for Ethan for a long time. It was clear as day that Mr. Miller had been head over heels for Mrs. Miller in the past, but his entire personality seemed to change after going to identify his sister's corpse. Nevertheless, this was his employer's family matter, so he dared not probe further. He simply drove away. The car drove further and further away. Ethan looked at Olivia through the rearview mirror and found that she still had not gotten up. The look of disdain on his face steepened. Apparently, her acting had improved in just a few days. Despite letting her live a sheltered life, Jeff had Olivia participate in various fitness programs since she was young to prevent her from being a target of bullying. She had a black belt in Taekwondo and was an expert in self-defense. There was no way someone as fit and healthy as her would faint so often like this. To him, Olivia was putting on an act for money. As this thought crossed his mind, he averted his gaze from the rearview mirror, refusing to spare her another glance. Seeing Ethan's car gradually disappear, Keith finally came to Olivia's side. When Olivia awoke once again, she found herself in the room she had left not too long ago. A needle was stuck in the back of her hand, and the four fluids slowly seeped into it. Her left hand was bandaged. She looked at the clock that hung on the wall and saw that it was already 3 in the morning. Before she could react, she heard Keith say in a gentle voice,
Sorry.
I followed you because I thought you would do something stupid. Seeing that Olivia wanted to sit up from the bed, Keith rushed to her aid by placing a pillow behind her. Then he gave her some water. She finally opened her mouth to speak. Did you witness everything? I'm sorry. It wasn't my intention. Keith was so earnest and sincere, while Ethan was the exact opposite of him. It's okay. I'm his wife. There's nothing to hide anyway. Keith's expression seemed to freeze for a second. Olivia noticed it and smiled bitterly.
Right.
Everyone thinks Marina is his fiancée now. It doesn't matter if you don't believe.
No.
I believe you. I recognize the design of your wedding ring. It was an SL limited edition. That's the only pair that exists. The magazines mentioned that SL's boss designed it specially for his wife. And I know that Ethan Miller is the one behind SL. Back then, Keith suspected that Olivia and Ethan were together, but he dismissed the idea after hearing the gossip between Ethan and Marina. Ethan rarely came to the hospital after that, too. Olivia subconsciously touched the place where she usually wore her ring. Her finger was bare now, and the skin where the ring had once been was a bit fairer than the rest of her hand, as if it was reminding her of her ridiculous marriage. It doesn't matter if I'm his wife. We're getting a divorce tomorrow at 9. Does he know about your condition? He doesn't have the right to know about it.